time doing this live, but I'm really excited to be here, and I just want to I didn't care if there's going to be one person that show up. Like my goal was to provide so much value and just give you guys some actionable steps to take away. So we're going to dive in. So thank you guys first of all for showing up. As I said, this is my first time doing something like this in person, so I really appreciate you guys taking your time at your Tuesday night to be here. And tonight, like I said, I want to just break down some myths, some misconceptions that are out there around fat loss. I want to tell you guys what it takes, how fat loss truly works, and then of course I want you guys to walk away here with some action steps, and you're going to know exactly what you need to do for your successful fat loss transformation. So who am I? Like some of you guys may know me, some of you guys may not. So my name is Harkes. Fitness and working out has been a passion of mine for about 12 plus years now. Ever since I was like 14, I was really getting into it. 26 now. And I really know what it's like to struggle with fat loss. Like there's so much noise, conflicting information out there, myths, misconceptions that we're gonna break today. And I used to spend hours in the gym, hours on the cardio machine. I was eating like the typical chicken, rice, and broccoli. It was like bland and gross. I hated scarfing it down. And I was honestly at the point where I was convinced that like I was just not someone that was ever gonna be able to lose my fat and get the body I desired. So it was about the time of 2018 where things really started to click for me. I was able to finally mesh everything that I was learning and figure out how to practically apply it to my own life. And then in 2020, just before COVID hit, so I don't want to say that word too loud, but I hired my first online fitness coach in 2020 in January, and it was just a game-changing experience. I made my first successful transformation through that process. So this is what it had looked like in that January 2020 picture. That was kind of the state that my physique was always in. As you can see, I was starting to figure things out, but I just couldn't really find the way to push myself to that next level. And after I did that 12-week transformation program with my online coach, I knew right away that like this was something I had to get into. My coach, he was on social media like I do now. He was sharing his passion. He was helping others through his content, through his coaching. And I knew that's exactly what I wanted to do to make a living one day. And that's kind of what leads us to where we are now. No cardio over there. So what led me here today? My combined marketing diploma I got from Fanshawe. I've taken multiple training and nutrition certificates, and of course just my passion for fitness. And ever since I was young, I knew I wanted to help people in one way or another. So now I get to do that every day through the people that read my free content and through my one-on-one coaching clients. Right now I work with 15 one-on-one coaching clients. But the main reason I do this is to be the coach for Fat Brad, as I affectionately call him, and all my friends call Fat Brad. A lot of them say, "We miss Fat Brad, where'd he go?" So that's the reason I'm standing up here doing this now, is to be the coach that guy needed right there. So, and that's led us to right here, right now. So today's learning objectives, there's a few things I want to cover, and let's dive into what you're all here for tonight. I want to break some myths and some misconceptions and finally put them to rest. I also want you guys to understand the true science of what it takes to alter your body composition, how to make a body transformation. And then lastly, like I said, I want you guys walking away with some actionable steps tonight, and I'm going to show you guys how to set up your own diet based on your own goals, whether that's, this is a fat loss seminar we're doing, but I know some of you guys in here just want to hear some nutrition facts as well. So whether your goal is to lose weight, gain weight, or maintain weight, I'm going to show you how to set that up tonight. So I thought a great place to start would be to break some common myths and misconceptions. So you guys have probably seen all the ads out there, like the quick fix schemes and just all like the conflicting noise. Someone tells you carbs are the worst thing for you. Someone says you need to have them every single day. I get it. There's a lot of noise to sift through. You basically have to make like a career out of it just to be able to like understand and solve it. But I'm going to try to break it down and make some of these myths, put them to rest for you guys tonight. So I thought a great way to do that would be to talk about how to not make a successful body fat transformation. and we're going to cover some common myths, some misconceptions, and finally put them to rest for good. So to not have a successful fat loss transformation, I would avoid carbs, I'd never eat past 8 p.m., I'd only do cardio, and I'd only eat clean or healthy food. So I'm going to bust these myths here one by one. So number one myth is to avoid carbs, and carbs are actually your body's preferred energy source. And if it's not carbs that are making you fat, it's being in a caloric surplus for an extended period of time that's actually causing you to gain weight and not allowing you to make the change you want to change. I'm going to explain what a surplus is further down the line, but essentially it's when you're eating more calories than your body's burning throughout the day. Myth number two, never eat past 8 p.m. 100 calories is still 100 calories even after 8 p.m. Obviously, it's more optimal, and we want to consider digestion by not stuffing our faces, going to bed on a full stomach. It makes things difficult to sleep, difficult to digest when you're trying to do both at the same time. But what's most important to our goal here tonight of a fat loss transformation is going to be your total daily calorie intake. That's going to be the most important factor for a successful fat loss transformation. Myth number three, I'd only do cardio. So cardio is beneficial for your heart, your brain, your lungs, and your body, and it is a great way to burn some calories as well. But by focusing on your diet and prioritizing it, which I'm going to walk you through tonight, that is the most effective way for you to elicit some fat loss, and it's the most sustainable way as well. So diet paired with resistance training is always the best starting point. It's where I start. It's where I get my clients to start. And then we can add in some cardio more so as a tool down the line, but definitely not a staple. And I wouldn't be spending all my time on cardio if my goal was fat loss. So number four, I would only eat clean foods. It's true that we do want to prioritize and get the majority of our foods from natural, minimally processed whole foods. But we don't want to restrict. We want to give ourselves some flexibility, and that's just in terms of adhering to the diet and making it sustainable. Because with the goal of a diet, you don't want to make it feel like you're dieting at all. You want it to be something that you can do every day and really make it a lifestyle. So what I preach to my clients and what I follow is about an 80-20 nutritional guideline. This is just some guardrails that 80% of the foods you pick are going to be those naturally, minimally processed whole foods, and then 20% can be, a little more flexible, incorporating some treats and things to help keep you sane and keep you adhering to the diet. So you can have your cake and eat it too when it comes to fat loss, and I'm going to show you how to do that today. So now that we've put some of these common myths to rest, I'm going to talk about the actual fat loss fundamentals and the true science behind making a fat loss transformation. So I love this quote. I've never really seen anyone tie it into like fitness, but it's by Ralph Waldo Emerson. It says, "As to the methods, there may be a million and then some, but the principles are few. The man who grasps principles can successfully select his own methods." So in terms of fat loss, we need to understand the fundamentals and the basics, because that empowers you guys to discover the method that's going to work best for you. Because we all know all the methods out there. There's the keto, the Atkins, you name it, whatever diet's out there. They're all just packaged up neatly, but to cause the fundamentals that cause the change. So keto, for example, as I'm going to explain here, you can see how it just follows these fundamental principles, no matter what crazy claims people make about certain diets. Not hating on keto at all. Again, if it works for you, if it's the method that works for you, then great. So how does fat loss actually work? And maybe this is a refresher for some of you guys. I saw a few hands that this is probably the first time you're hearing this, but I want you guys to forget everything you think you know about fat loss for this concept I'm about to explain to you. And it's a simple concept, it really is, but applying it and sticking with it is actually the hard part. And this concept that I'm talking about is calories in versus calories out. Some people label it as CICO. So I just want to make this as simple as possible because, like I said, there's so much noise, there's so much confusion out there. But essentially, if you're expending more calories than you're intaking, you are going to be lose weight, you are going to lose fat. And right now, you guys may have heard this before, and you might be thinking, but what about my age, or my hormones, or my thyroid, etc.? And these are very important factors. I do not overlook these factors for myself or for my clients, but these factors, they do affect your caloric intake and the food that you're eating. They also do affect your caloric expenditure and the energy that you're expending. But they don't change the physiological principle behind CICO, calories in versus calories out. And the principle behind calories in versus calories out is the law of thermodynamics. So as you can see here, this equation, this is where we want to be if fat loss is the goal. We want to have a net decrease in our body's energy stores, and our body's energy stores are actually in the form of fat. This is stored energy on your body. So if the calories that you're expending are greater than the calories you're intaking, then you're going to see a decrease in your energy stores, and your body's going to be forced to tap into your body fat to fuel its just surviving, its movement, and the processes that it needs in the day. So when your energy requirements, like I said, are greater than the calories you're intaking, that's going to put you in this net decrease on the right-hand side here. So let's say, for example, your maintenance calories are 2,000 calories. So anything you eat under that, it's going to put you in a calorie deficit, and it's going to put you on this side of the equation where you're tapping into those stored energy sources. So should you, now that you know that like you need a deficit to lose weight, an energy deficit to lose weight, should you really try to tip that scale and just go crazy? Like let's say that 2,000 calorie is your maintenance. Should you just go to like 500 calories a day or 1,000 calories a day? And absolutely not, because sustainability is the key. So the goal with the calorie deficit is to find the sweet spot where you are losing weight, but you're not doing it in such an aggressive way that it is going to slow down your metabolism, because your metabolism does actually adapt to the lower amount of calories and becomes more efficient with what you're giving it. So we want to essentially stay as close to our maintenance calories as we can, while still eliciting the fat loss at a good sustainable rate, which I'm going to get into more down the line here. So the law of thermodynamics continued here. As I said, back in the day, what I would do is I put way too much stock into the calorie expenditure trackers. So this is on like a treadmill here, and as you can see, this person has expended 411 calories. So I used to think that like, okay, I finally understand I need to be in a deficit to lose weight. So if my maintenance is 2,000 calories, I got to crank this up to say 2,000, and that's how I'm going to burn my 2,000 calories. But that's not true, because we burn calories all day long, not just from the sessions of cardio that we do. Like just you guys sitting here are burning calories right now. I'm burning calories probably a little more. I'm sweating and I'm moving my arms around. I'm fidgeting. So I want to explain to you guys like where specifically then does your calories actually go. So we have what's known as our total daily energy expenditure. And when I'm talking energy tonight, you guys, it's going to be kind of hand in hand with calories. Calories and energy, whenever you see those, think of the same thing here. So the sum of calories that your body uses in a day, that's what makes up this TDEE. And there are four components, four areas that make up the TDEE, the total daily energy that you're expending, the total daily calories that you're expending. So these four components are number one, BMR, your basal metabolic rate. So that's going to be like just what you guys are doing right now. You guys are just sitting here, just hanging out, listening. Your brains are probably working on overtime with all this info. But what your BMR runs is your vital functions, like your heart beating, your brain functioning, your lungs pumping, etc. Then we have our EAT, our exercise activity thermogenesis. So this is any like planned exercise session. I like to think of like weight training, cardio, sports, etc. And then we have our non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And that's going to be just daily movement, household chores, fidgeting, typing on the keyboard, anything that's not a planned exercise session. Then we have the TEF, the thermic effect of food. And this is when our body is breaking down our food and absorbing and digesting the nutrients from it. So a fun fact about that too is Out of the three macros we're going to dive into, protein has the highest thermic effective food. So just a little fun tip, the more protein you can incorporate, it's going to just burn more calories without any extra effort compared to the other macronutrients, which we're going to dive into. So if you add up the BMR, the EAT, the NEAT, the TEF, that's going to add up to your TDEE. So those four components make up all the calories that we burn in a day. So to go back to the treadmill example then, I want to ask you guys, like what percentage of the total calories we're burning in a day, what percentage of that do you guys think comes from exercise? Does anyone want to try to take a stab? Like, do you think it's 25% of the total calories you burn in a day? Do you think it's 50%? Do you think it's 10? Any guesses at all? Other than Cass, because I know you're a trainer too. 5%? Yeah, that's a good guess. Anyone else? Any thoughts? 20? Awesome. All right, so I'm going to unveil it. Drum roll. So actually, it is only about a measly 5%. So great guess, Blythe. And this is different from person to person, but like just your general, everyday general population person is about 5%. So the rest of your calories, about 10% of the calories you burn in a day comes from the thermic effective food, digesting, absorbing, etc. And then you have your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, like walking to and from the parking lot, walking to the bathroom, etc. And then your BMR, which is again just the vital functions to keep your body alive. So now we know where we expend our calories in a day. Now we need to understand how to mesh that with what you guys are currently doing. So what we're going to do in a few minutes here, we're going to calculate our TDEE. And essentially, when you understand how many calories you're expending in a day, if you take that same calorie amount, that's going to be what your maintenance calories are. So if you eat at your total daily energy expenditure, that's your maintenance. Anything under, you're in a deficit. And anything over, you're in a surplus. So how do we set up our diet and our food based on knowing this information and based on our goals? So all food is where our energy comes from, and all food is broken down into calories, and all calories get further broken down into macros. So calories are energy, it's what fuels our body. So food really is fuel. And then we have the macronutrients that make up these calories. We have three: protein, carbs, and fats. Alcohol is another one that we're not going to touch on for the sake of tonight. But for just the sake of tonight, if you are tracking, which I'm going to talk you guys through, alcohol can just be tracked as either carbs or fats. But these macronutrients, they all play a crucial role in the body, especially when it comes to our body composition goals, which is what we're talking about tonight. So I just want to get clear, make sure we're all talking about the same thing when I talk about these calories here. So a calorie, like I said, it's a unit of measurement for energy. And very specifically, it's the amount of energy that's required to raise the temperature of 1 milliliter of water by 1 degree Celsius. Don't get too confused by that. That's just like the super technical, explanation of it, but like that's not very practical. I just want to throw that in there. But 1 calorie equals 1 calorie because it's a unit of measurement, the same way that 1 mile equals 1 mile. Whether you're walking in the sand on a beach or whether you're walking in the city on the pavement, that 1 mile is still 1 mile. But so 200 calories of broccoli would be the same 200 calories of cake when it comes to energy. But what makes those calories different though is the macronutrient makeup of those calories, of those foods. So like I said, we have protein, carbs, and fats. And the calories, as you can see here, from broccoli, 50 florets of broccoli and half a slice of cake, you both get 200 calories of energy from both those things. But it's the macronutrients, the fats, the carbs, the protein, don't worry about the sugar right now. It's just the fats, the carbs, the protein that make up those foods, and they all have a different role in the body. So the calories between 50 florets of broccoli and half a slice of cake are the same for your energy balance, but what makes them different is their macronutrients as well as the micronutrients, the vitamins and minerals, which we're going to dive into a little bit later down the line. But like I said, each macro has a different role in the body when it comes to fat loss and when it comes to improving your body composition. So for protein, those guys are the muscle builders. Like I said, they have the highest thermic effect of food compared to your fats or your carbs. So just by eating more of those, your body's going to use up more calories in the day digesting and absorbing the nutrients from protein. It increases your metabolism because it is the muscle building protein or the muscle building macronutrient. So it builds and repairs muscle, which helps to support a toned physique. And again, having more muscle mass is going to help increase that metabolism because having muscle mass compared to fat mass is going to be more metabolically active and take more calories in a day to preserve and to build. Protein is also the most satiating of all the macronutrients. So when we're in a fat loss diet, it's going to keep you full and satisfied. Then next we have carbs, which are the energy providers. Like I said, these guys are the body's preferred energy source. They help to fuel your workouts, fuel your recovery, and they prevent muscle breakdown as well. And then we have our fats, which is kind of like the glue that holds it all together here. And they help out in a hormonal balance. They aid in absorbing vital nutrients, and they maintain healthy brain and body cells overall. Awesome. So now we're going to get to calculating our calorie goals. So we're going to talk about that sheet that I've handed out to everyone in a minute here. So we understand calories, we understand macros, and we understand how they play a role on in your body's composition. So how does this translate practically for each of you guys here? We're going to create a diet that aligns with you and with your goals, and I'm going to walk you through calculating that. So let's grab those handouts now, and we're going to walk you through it. But everyone's body and everyone's need is so much different, so it is important to have this individualized approach. That's always going to be key for getting you your best results and results you can actually sustain long term. So step number one, we got to actually pull our phones out for this one too. There's a QR code here. This QR code is actually on the bottom of your sheet of paper too on the left hand side. So this here is going to help us calculate our TDEE, which is going to reveal to us what our maintenance calories should be. So there's only about 4 or 5 pieces of info to fill out online on that calculator. As everyone pulled that up, it looks like. I'll give you guys a couple minutes to do that, and then just jot it down on the piece of paper once you've done so. Come on, babe, don't you want to figure out your maintenance calories? Looks like we all got the website good to go. Awesome. I should have done this for myself. Awesome. How's that going for everyone? Everyone got it? Anyone not quite have it yet? Need a second? Awesome. So I'm going to move on here, guys. So once you have that number, like I said, that's your total daily energy expenditure. That's your maintenance calorie amount. So the next thing that we have to calculate is your daily protein goal. Or sorry, before that, back up. We want to determine what our goal is first. So you want to ask yourself, like, what is your number one goal here? Are you shooting for fat loss? Are you shooting... Is all good? All good? Will you guys be shooting for fat loss, muscle building, maintenance, or body recomposition, which is actually building muscle while losing fat at the same time? It's definitely a slower approach, and there's a few specific people who that works best for. So that'd be people who are complete beginners to training, or maybe someone that's taken a big break from their training and their dieting efforts. But how should you decide what you should do? And honestly, this is what my coach had told me, and it's actually worked pretty well, is that you just want to take a look at your body in the mirror and ask yourself, like, am I comfortable with putting on any more body fat right now? If the answer is no, then you're definitely going to want to be on the fat loss or at least the maintenance side of things, or even go for the slower approach of the body recomposition. But if you look at yourself and or you think, now is the time I do want to maybe add some size, or I do want to grow, or I wouldn't mind if I did have a little extra fat on me, then that'd be where you'd want to look at going to a maintenance phase or maybe even a muscle building phase. So we have our TDEE that we just calculated from the last step. So pick your goal. If you're gonna go for some fat loss or some weight loss, then I would subtract anywhere from 250 to 500 calories. For the men, and I would say stick with closer to the 300 to 500 range. For the women, kind of stick closer to the 200 to 300. And that's just because women are typically smaller, and of course this is individualized to everyone's goals. But if your goal is to bulk, you want to take 200 to 300 calories to your TDEE. If you want to just maintain your current weight, you just stay at that TDEE amount. And if you're going for that recomp, if you're someone that has always struggled with their weight and wants to lose that weight, I would say go with a 100 to 150 calorie deficit. But if you're someone that's always been lean, struggled to put on the weight, and you want to go for the recomp, I would say 100 to 150 calories of a surplus above that TDEE. So pick one goal and go all in with it. Step 3, we got to set our protein. Protein is the most important macronutrient when it comes to making your fat loss transformation. So what you want to do, there's a big range between 0.6 and 1.2 grams per pound of body weight. So for me, 170 pounds times that by 0.6, I get 102 grams on the lower range. 170 pounds times 1.2, I get 204 grams of protein on the higher range. So if you're someone that has a lot of weight you're trying to lose right now, then you can stick kind of to that lower end of that protein goal. But if you're someone that's already fairly lean, or you just have your last 5 to 10 pounds to lose, then you want to stick to the higher end of the protein range. And that's because as you're deeper into that deficit, your body does tend to start taking more energy from muscle as well as fat. So protein is just going to help you preserve that muscle, as well as adding in some resistance training, which I'm going to talk a little bit more down the line here. So a general recommendation, a good sweet spot, this can be based on preference, and anywhere in that range is good. But like 1 gram per pound of body weight, you may have heard that before, is kind of like the general recommendation. Or again, if you're someone with a lot of weight to lose, 1 gram of protein per pound of your goal body weight. So remember that protein too, it's the most satiating of the macronutrients. It's what the muscle builder and helps to preserve muscle mass. And it also has the highest thermic effect of food. So again, just that bonus of burning more calories without doing any work compared to carbs or fats. So step 4, we want to set our carbs and fats. And you guys know by now that I like to keep things really simple. And the remainder of your calories are going to be coming from your fats and carbs. Honestly, when it comes to body composition, where your fats and carbs end up, it doesn't really matter, so long as you're hitting your protein range and so long as you're staying within your calorie range. But a good recommendation would be absolutely no less than 20% of your daily calories coming from fats when you're setting up your diet, which we're going to talk about in a minute. No less than 20%, and that's just going to help to maintain and regulate your hormones, your brain health, and those vital functions that I was talking about before. So to get 20%, you want to multiply your calorie goal. So you took your TDE, you either added or subtracted to that, and now with that number, you want to times it by 0.2, and that's going to give you 20% of the daily calories that you need coming from fats. So the remainder of your calories can come from carbs, and you want to ask yourself, like, what would you enjoy more? What could you sustain? And a very general macronutrient split within your calories is to be 30% from protein, about 40 from carbs, and about 30 from fats. And again, this can all be based on preference, but if you're brand new to this, that's kind of a great spot to start at. So step 5, we're going to talk about meal timing now. So a very general guideline, again, for people just getting started out, I like to say just take the amount of meals that you're going to be having and snacks that you're going to be having in the day, and take your calories and divide it by the amount of meals and snacks. So if you have 3 meals and 2 snacks, that's 5. You want to divide your total calorie amount by 5, and then you kind of have a general guideline of how many calories each meal and each snack should be. Um, and same goes for protein as well. And total overall daily calories are the most important factor in a successful fat loss transformation. I have some clients who like to do intermittent fasting where they'll do an 8-hour eating window. That's totally fine. That's totally okay. But what is a good thing to think about with the protein is you do want to kind of spread that out evenly throughout the day as best you can. That's just going to help to support muscle protein synthesis and going to be providing your muscles with the protein and the nutrients that they need to be in a constant state of growth. Step number 6, we need to track, monitor, and adjust. So we can't improve what we don't measure, so it's super important that we're tracking our body composition through things like weighing yourself every morning, step on the scale before you eat or drink anything, and before you eat and drink anything, and after you use the bathroom is when you want to step on the scale. You want to do that consistently so you get your accurate morning weight every single day. Because if you weigh yourself in the morning and then at night, like there's going to be a couple pound difference just from that. So get consistent with the times you are weighing yourself. And on the topic of weighing yourself too, all my clients now weigh themselves daily and input that number daily, and that gives us a really good weekly average, because if they were just doing it on a once a week basis, there's so many fluctuations that can happen and it kind of skews the data. So doing a weekly average for yourself is just really nice to do, to get a picture of like the overall trend, and it really empowers you to see how much your body weight can fluctuate from day to day as well. Pictures as well, that's a great thing to track your body measurements. So using something like a fabric measuring tape just to get those measurements, not essential, but something you can do. And then I like to track my food and my drinks using an app like MyFitnessPal. That's what me and all my clients use. And some other tools for success here would be a body weight scale, a measuring tape, a food scale to weigh out the food that you're eating and that you're inputting into the app, and then download an app for food tracking such as MyFitnessPal. I would have listed some more, but that's the only one I use, so I'm going to stick with it. And then we have the last step here, step 7, is to just try it out. So the most important thing about this is to be accurate and to be honest, because it doesn't matter what you tell your fitness app, it matters what you're actually putting in your body. So, a lot of times clients try to hide things from me on the app, or, stop tracking for a bit, and that's fine. There are other ways that you can go about it, but if you want to be honest with yourself, you really need to just get consistent, get committed, stick to it for at least 2 to 3 weeks, and over those 2 to 3 weeks, you gotta monitor what's happening to your body. Are you not losing weight at the rate that you thought you wanted to? Then you might want to slash 200 to 300 calories from that number that we just calculated here. If you're losing too slowly, you might want to slash another 100 to 200 calories. If you're losing weight too fast, maybe you want to add in another 100 to 200 calories just to kind of help with some hunger and to kind of slow that rate down. A good sustainable rate of fat loss would be about 1% of your body weight per week. So again, with my example, I'm 170 pounds, so that'd be about 1.7 pounds per week. It's kind of that range that you want to be in here. So with all that being said, now you have your steps to taking your first steps, setting up your successful fat loss diet. But sustainability is the key with this approach, because if you're not adhering to it, if you can't sustain it, then obviously you're not going to be able to do what you need to do to get the results you want to get. But it's absolutely important to be honest with yourself and ask what's sustainable for you. So I just recently did a cut from June. It was an 8-week cut, and I started off super aggressive. My maintenance calories were at 3,100, and I dropped down to 2,100, which is a 1,000-calorie drop. Something I would never do that with my clients. I just wanted to get in, wanted to get out, being super impatient with it. And by about day 4 or 5, my hunger hormones, my fullness cues, they were just screaming at me. which led to like some weekend binging and just not in a good place. So I did end up actually adding a bunch of calories back in to about 2,500 per day, a lot more sustainable rate of loss. And I was still able to manage to lose the 10 pounds I wanted to lose in the 2 months. Um, and I just felt so much better than trying to really like grind it out and go at like such a fast rate. And if I stayed at that low calories for too long, well, first of all, I couldn't because my body was basically forcing me to binge because I was just so hungry, feeling like such crap. So you want to take it slow and sustainable so that you can get the results you want and not drive yourself insane. So there are a few other factors besides the diet. We're not really going to dive too far into these. I'm just going to give a brief overview because that in itself could take a whole nother training. So we have resistance training, or more commonly known as weight training. So we all benefit from having more muscle mass. You hate to hear of your grandparents who they can't get on and off the toilet anymore. And I like to kind of think that like if I stay on top of this for so long, I'm always going to have that muscle mass. I'm always going to be able to get myself on and off the toilet. But with resistance training, it helps build muscle, strength, and longevity, and you have more metabolically active tissue because, like I said, muscle is a lot more calorically active than fat tissue, and you won't get big and bulky on accident. I have a lot of clients who, when they're first starting out, they say they don't want to resistance train, they don't want to get too big, too strong. But an analogy I heard that I love is like, that'd be like someone saying they don't want to drive because they don't want to become a NASCAR driver. Like, you're not going to become a bodybuilder on accident just by doing resistance training. Next we have cardio. And like I said, it is a good tool for increased calorie burn, but diet is the most effective and sustainable way to start attacking the fat loss. And that's always going to be step number one for myself or for any of my clients that I work with. And then we have hydration. So you want to get your water in because all of our bodily functions require water. So that's going to help just optimize performance, recovery, results, and help keep you feeling good. Next we have supplements. So I personally like to take a minimalist approach for myself and my clients. I really like to emphasize that 80-20 diet to get most of my nutrients from the food that I eat in my diet. I hear of a lot of people who start working with like a new coach, and the first thing that happens when they sign up is they have a list of supplements that's another like $300 or $400 right off the bat. So I don't really like to do it that way. And supplements are just that. They are supplements to an already good diet, workout routine, etc. So if I were to add any in, I'd add in these five. I'd do creatine, a multivitamin just to cover any bases you might not hit through your diet, fish oils, some good essential fats, caffeine, and protein powder. And the reason I have a star at creatine is because it's the most studied supplement. Whether you're in a fat loss phase, a building phase, whatever, like I'd always be taking that. It has a lot of brain benefits. It also helps just provide more energy and fuel to your muscles when you're working out. So it helps with performance, helps with recovery. And then with protein powder, I got to start there because I used to think that like whey protein powder, you had to take a scoop of it in a shake 30 minutes after working out just to build muscle. Like, I didn't understand it. I just heard that you needed to take protein powder to build muscle. But what I realized is like it's literally just protein in the form of a supplement. So if you're lacking it through your diet, or like you just enjoy protein powder or protein bars like I do, then it's just like a treat you can include to help get you closer to your daily protein goal. Next we have sleep. So lacking sleep can really disrupt like your hormonal balance, and in regards to your appetite and your hunger, it can cause bad cravings. It can lead you to overeat. So you want to make sure that your sleep is in control, and it can really hinder your energy expenditure and your metabolism, making calorie burning harder. So you want to get between 7 to 9 hours of sleep. That's kind of the general guideline for most healthy adults. And then lastly, got to get this plug in there, accountability and support, because like I showed you guys, and it was a true story, my first successful transformation did come through working with my online coach. So the kind of two options you have are like, cherry pick all the info I just taught you tonight, formulate a plan from everything you've learned online, Or you could have someone that's a professional take out the guesswork, be a personal trainer in your pocket, provide the support, the systems that are proven and tested to help shortcut your results to your successful fat loss transformation. Just had to throw that plug in there. But yeah, I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for coming. That's pretty much the end of my presentation here. And I want to open the floor for a little bit of a Q&A here. And if there's anything in regards to like this presentation, that'd be great. Prioritize those questions. But if you do have any like just general fitness questions at all, now's the time. You can ask me and I'd love to take a crack at answering it for you. So any questions based on everything I just dove into there at all?
I missed your daily protein goal section.
Yeah?
Yeah, if you could go through that again.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, so for that one, like what I had said was like between 0.6 to 1.2 grams per like body weight. So actually, let me just go back to it here. But honestly, like a good general recommendation to just keep things simple is to just go for whatever you weigh in your body weight. Try to shoot for that 1 gram per pound of body weight you are. That's probably like my best recommendation. And again, like as you get leaner and leaner, you might want to continue to crank that up just to help preserve that muscle mass when you're in a deficit going for fat loss. So yeah, anything else there? So a few of the clients I've worked with since starting my coaching journey online.
I'd just like to touch on if you're struggling with your diet, tracking is one of the most essential things to do. I didn't realize that until I started with that. Because when you take your food on a plate, you eyeball it, you'd be shocked at how much different it is compared to when you actually weigh it on a food scale.
Yeah.
On your plate.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was huge for me.
Yeah.
I wasn't taking enough to actually start paying and tracking it.
Yeah. And yeah, on your end code, like we were trying to bulk, we were trying to get the calories in, right? So like when it comes to fat loss, there's nothing more depressing than when you first actually weigh out an actual tablespoon of peanut butter compared to what you thought a tablespoon of peanut butter was. So depressing. But yeah, it's really empowering. And like a lot of people have a lot of resistance to start food tracking because yeah, it takes time. There's a learning curve like anything. But it's so empowering to see where your energy is coming from, where your calories are coming from, because then you know what swaps that you need to make or what changes you have to make in your diet to actually, be in the calorie deficit if you're trying to lose, or be in the surplus if you're trying to gain. So, yeah, that's what I'd say on the tracking piece. But yeah, any other questions or thoughts or comments or?
What can you eat to, I love treats.
Yeah.
Like, that's what gets me. So what can you eat that goes with that? Like chocolate, I love chocolate.
Yeah. So one thing I'd say is like you can eat the right amount of food because like are these cravings coming from being in a deficit? Like have you been trying to lose weight for a while?
It's just random.
Can just be random.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like you do want to like incorporate it, include it because especially if like you're calorie tracking because it can show you that like you can still include the chocolate, the snacks, and you can still get your results. Like in my cut that I did, like I could fit McFlurries into my calorie budget, into my deficit. I could still lose the weight I wanted to lose. So I would just say like including it with moderation, not restricting it, and then finding ways to have like other treats that you can like make sure that they do really align with your goals. Like my go-to example is like a Greek yogurt bowl with like some granola, some like dark chocolate chips, something like that. It's gonna satisfy that sweet tooth, but it's gonna be like high protein, satiating, and just gonna be aligning with your goals instead of working against them. I think I deviated from your question a bit, but does that help?
Share something.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
I same thing. Like I struggled with like treats, and then I started tracking just my protein and
Mhm.
tracking like I think I did over
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. No, yeah, that's 100% right. Appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, you were surprised once you focus on putting so much protein for each meal, how much it changes your cravings.
Yeah.
Really great.
And another thing I've done too is like, Emma's mom is a baker. She's gonna be the death of me, but so she's always giving me some great stuff. And instead of just like, having a cookie because I want a cookie, what I like to do is actually like I'll break it into like a bowl of Greek yogurt, or I'll like have it with a protein shake, because then like you're still getting that fix, but then you're adding in like the protein and the nutrients that are gonna help keep you full, keep you satisfied. So
That's discipline.
that's why.
That's discipline.
That's discipline. Yeah, for real. And I mean, it's kind of like these habits. Like they seem weird, but like once you start instilling them into your life and they align with your goals, like it just makes maintaining your weight so much easier. Like to me, even be standing here, like if I told Fat Rad that I was going to be doing this and that I'd finally get my results, I could still fit in Emma's mom's baking and maintain it easily. Like I wouldn't believe that, right? So it is these habits, it is these small things that you really want to build and establish that support your goals.
There is some alternatives out there too. Like if you
Some what,
just
sorry?
there's some alternatives out there.
Yeah.
To the foods. Like for me, I found powdered peanut butter.
Yeah.
Like the macros on powdered peanut butter compared to your regular ground peanut butter are crazy. Like your fats are
Yeah.
like 30% less.
Yep.
Just so you just gotta look at that stuff, right?
Yep. Yep. And another great thing with like alternative swaps when you are trying to lose some fat would be a concept of volume eating. So instead of like having like a rice bowl for lunch, you could swap out the rice for like cauliflower rice, because it's still giving you that same volume, but it's much lower in calories, and it's going to allow you to like still fill up on the same like food content in your stomach, but it's just going to be less calories, so you can feel like you're eating more, feel more full, feel more satiated. But again, I know there are people too that like go crazy with like all the alternatives and like low calorie this, low calorie that. You do again want to focus on like those whole nutrient dense, minimally processed foods, because it's just going to help you to look your best, feel your best, and sustain the diet that you're currently on. Awesome, you guys. Well, yeah. Again, just want to say thanks so much for coming out. Like to come and spend 50 minutes on Tuesday night with me. Really appreciate it, you guys. It's been a lot of fun, and appreciate you guys listening so attentively and pitching in a few questions. So, yeah, I think that's going to wrap things up tonight. I hope that you found some value from the sheet. If anything's unclear, you guys do have any questions, I just put like my Instagram's on there, my Facebook's on there. I love like just connecting, chatting about this kind of thing. So if anything's unclear, there are any further questions, just hit me up on there. And if anyone does have any questions or anything, now that we're wrapping up, feel free to come up, have a chat.